Welcome back, and in today's video I want to share with you all a thought that I had during a recent conversation my wife and I were having. So my wife and I and a group of others, we are part of this team that is trying to put together a prayer night at a church. And as we are prepping and planning, so it's just my wife and I are talking, there were some issues that were coming up, like what if nobody shows up to this event? What if there are too many people and we cannot provide enough prayer teams to kind of pray with these people? What if people cannot follow along with the songs? What kind of songs are going to be sung? Just a lot of, issues that come up with planning. And as she was speaking, I think God had put it in my heart the story of Gideon and his battle with Midian, or this group of people in Midian. Hopefully that's right. But it comes from the book of Judges, and so pretty much Gideon, or the Israelites, were being let me just read it. So it comes from Judges chapter 6, and we'll start with verse 14. So this is the Lord turning to Midian, or turning to, not to Midian, but turning to Gideon, saying, "The Lord turned to him and said, 'Go with the strength you have and save Israel from the power of Midian. Is it not I who send you?' But he answered him, 'Please, my Lord, how can I save Israel? My family is the poorest in Manasseh, and I am the most insignificant in my father's house.' The Lord said to him, 'I will be with you, and you will cut down Midian to the last man.'" So in this chapter, or in this verse 14, here Gideon is saying that he is not qualified at all. He is not prepared. Who is he? He is nobody. Like, why did God even call him, ask him to take down these group of people? So it kind of reminds me of like me, right? Like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not well prepared enough. And in regards to this prayer night that we're trying to put together, we don't even know anything about this stuff. Like, who are we to do this stuff, right? And then if we jump to chapter 7, starting at verse 2. So Gideon is like, "Okay, I'm going to listen to you, Lord. I'm going to trust you." And Gideon had about 30,000 soldiers with him. And then we'll read here, starting with chapter 7, verse 2 in Judges. The Lord said to Gideon, "You have too many soldiers with you for me to deliver Midian into their power, lest Israel vaunt itself against me and say, 'My own power saved me.' So announce in the hearing of the soldiers, 'If anyone is afraid or fearful, let him leave. Let him depart from Mount Gilead.' 22,000 of the soldiers left, but 10,000 remained. The Lord said to Gideon, 'There are still too many soldiers. Lead them down to the water, and I will test them for you there. If I tell you that a certain man is to go with you, he must go with you. But no one is to go if I tell you he must not.' When Gideon led the soldiers down to the water, the Lord said to him, 'Everyone who laps up the water as a dog does with its tongue, you shall set aside by himself. And everyone who kneels down to drink, raising his hand to his mouth, you shall set aside by himself.' Those who lapped up the water with their tongues numbered 300, but all the rest of the soldiers knelt down to drink the water. The Lord said to Gideon, 'By means of the 300 who lapped up the water, I will save you and deliver Midian into your power. So let all the other soldiers go home. So man, Gideon had 30,000 soldiers, 20,000 left because they were afraid, and then the remaining 10,000 God chose based on their drinking styles, and it left him with 300 people. And so now thinking about this group of people in Midian, 300 soldiers versus this group that would just come in and just like dominate the Israelites and just take over their land, take their animals, their plants. And God only allowed 300 to go, and Gideon was like, how's that even going to work? But Gideon trusted that the Lord was going to provide in the 300, and turns out, God won. God delivered Midian into the hands of Gideon and his soldiers. And then if we go into chapter 8, verse 22, the Israelites then said to Gideon, "Rule over us, you, your son, and your son's son, for you saved us from the power of Midian." But Gideon answered them, "I will not rule over you, nor shall my son rule over you. The Lord must rule over you." So I was just in this conversation I was having with my wife, this Bible story passage came up, and it just kind of made me reflect on how much do I really need to be prepared? Yeah, prepare enough, but can over preparation lead me to glorify and thank myself for a job well done, versus not being overly prepared, but just being prepared enough the way that God has prepared me, and trusting that He has prepared me and He will get me through this? So I guess just the reflection question for you all would be, how trusting am I in myself versus how trusting am I in that God will provide what I need to get by the obstacles for the day, for the week, for the month, for the rest of my life that I may come across. So hopefully you guys, God touches your heart, speaks to you through this. If not, I pray just someone else come and share a message with you. Thank you for listening.